the WNBA has reached a moment nobody expected. The conversation is no longer just about basketball. It is about protection, respect, accountability, and whether the league is ready to handle the spotlight that came with its biggest superstar. After the shocking Alyssa Thomas incident involving Caitlin Clark, the reaction did not stay inside the arena. It exploded across the sports world. And now, Olympic athletes are stepping forward with a message that has sent shockwaves through the WNBA. They're not staying silent. They're questioning how the league has handled the situation, why controversy continues to surround Caitlin Clark, and why one of the most important athletes in women's sports history appears to be caught in the middle of a storm. The pressure is rising. Fans are demanding answers. Former champions are speaking out. The league's leadership is facing uncomfortable questions. Because this is no longer just about one play, one foul, or one game. This is about the future of the WNBA. And as more voices join the conversation, a bigger story is beginning to unfold, one that could reveal a battle between protecting the growth of the league and protecting the superstar who helped change it forever. And the next revelation could change everything. Caitlin Clark's journey into the WNBA was never a normal rookie story. From the moment she entered the league, she carried expectations that few athletes in any sport have ever experienced. She was not simply joining a team. She was becoming the face of a movement, a player bringing millions of new eyes to women's basketball and changing the way people viewed the league. But with that spotlight came a level of pressure unlike anything before. Every game became a headline. Every physical play became a debate. Every decision involving Caitlin Clark was analyzed by fans, analysts, former players, and the media. The attention was enormous, and the expectations became even bigger. When Indiana selected Caitlin Clark, the Fever were searching for a new identity. The franchise had talented pieces, including Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell, but they needed a spark. Clark arrived with the ability to transform an offense through her shooting range, passing ability, and confidence under pressure. Suddenly, the Fever were no longer just rebuilding. They were becoming one of the most watched teams in basketball. But success also created tension. A superstar changes everything around her. It changes how teams defend. It changes how opponents prepare. And it changes how every action on the court is viewed by the public. As Caitlin Clark's popularity grew, so did the intensity of the competition. Some players welcomed the attention she brought to the league. Others focused on proving that the WNBA was bigger than one individual. The battle was not only about basketball anymore. It became a conversation about respect, rivalry, and the changing balance of power inside women's sports. Then came the moments that pushed the conversation even further. Physical play involving Caitlin Clark became a major talking point. Fans questioned whether officials were doing enough to maintain consistency and protect every player equally. Critics argued that the league needed to be clearer about where competitive intensity ends and unnecessary contact begins. That debate reached another level after the incident involving Alyssa Thomas. The moment created a wave of reactions. Some defended it as part of the physical nature of professional basketball. Others believed it represented a larger issue about how the league handles dangerous situations and protects its players. And then something unexpected happened. The conversation moved beyond fans. Olympic athletes, champions who had spent their careers fighting for recognition in sports, began speaking about the situation. Their message was not only about Caitlin Clark. It was about the standards every athlete deserves when stepping onto the court. They argued that a growing league cannot afford confusion about safety, fairness, and accountability. Because when a sport reaches a turning point, the decisions made during controversy define its future. And now the WNBA was facing a question it could not ignore. Would the league rise to the moment and protect the athletes who are changing the game, or would this controversy become the beginning of an even bigger storm? The pressure surrounding Caitlin Clark was already reaching a breaking point, but the Alyssa Thomas incident pushed the conversation into completely different territory. Suddenly, the debate was no longer just about competitive basketball. It became a question about where the line exists between intense competition and actions that cross it. For weeks, Caitlin Clark had been dealing with a level of physical attention unlike almost any other player in the league. Defenders knew stopping her required constant pressure. Opponents knew every possession mattered. But as the spotlight grew, so did the criticism over whether those moments were being handled consistently. Then came the moment that changed everything. The reaction was immediate. Fans flooded social media. Analysts began breaking down the play frame by frame. Former athletes started asking whether the league was sending the right message about player safety. And the first shocking twist was not just the incident itself. It was who started speaking. Olympic champions, athletes who had spent decades fighting for respect and recognition in their own sports, began stepping into the conversation. Their message carried weight because they were not simply fans defending Caitlin Clark. They were competitors who understood what it meant to sacrifice everything for a sport. Their argument was simple but powerful. Great athletes should be challenged by greatness, not by moments that create unnecessary danger. That message created a new wave of pressure on the WNBA, because now the conversation was no longer limited to Caitlin Clark supporters. It had expanded to respected figures from the world of sports who believed the league had a responsibility to protect its players while allowing competition to remain intense. Behind the scenes, the tension continued growing. The WNBA was facing a difficult challenge. Caitlin Clark had brought unprecedented attention to the league, but that attention also meant every controversy became amplified around the world. Every foul became a debate. Every missed call became a headline. Every physical interaction became a question about fairness. The league had to find a way to balance protecting its stars while maintaining the competitive identity that makes professional basketball unique. But the biggest concern from critics was that the response appeared too slow. They questioned whether the league was reacting only after public pressure became impossible to ignore. They wondered whether officials, coaches, and leadership understood the importance of this moment. Because this was bigger than one player. Caitlin Clark represented a new era of attention for women's basketball. The way the league handled this situation could influence how future stars are treated, how fans view the sport, and how seriously the world takes the WNBA. And as more powerful voices began joining the conversation, one uncomfortable question started spreading everywhere. Was the league prepared for the responsibility that came with having a superstar who changed everything? Or was Caitlin Clark exposing problems that had been hidden long before she arrived? The controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark was no longer fading away. Instead, it was growing bigger with every passing day. What started as a heated debate over one moment on the court had transformed into a much larger conversation about the direction of the WNBA. The pressure was building from every angle. Fans were demanding answers. Analysts were questioning the league's decisions. Former athletes were calling for consistency. And now, the WNBA found itself facing a challenge that every growing sports league eventually faces. How do you protect the athletes who bring millions of people through the door while keeping the competition authentic? The second major twist came when the conversation shifted from one incident to a pattern. Critics began pointing out that Caitlin Clark's situation was not just about a single play. They argued that the larger issue was how the league responded whenever intense moments involved its biggest stars. The question became unavoidable. Was the WNBA applying its standards equally? That question created a storm. Supporters of Caitlin Clark argued that fairness did not mean making the game easier for her. They said it meant making sure every player, regardless of popularity, received the same level of protection and respect. That message connected with Olympic athletes who had spent their careers competing at the highest level. They understood the difference between physical competition and actions that could put athletes at risk. Their voices added another layer of pressure because they represented generations of competitors who had fought to make women's sports stronger. But the controversy also exposed another problem. The WNBA's growth created a clash between old expectations and a new audience. For years, the league built a loyal fan base through incredible players, rivalries, and competitive basketball. But Caitlin Clark brought millions of new viewers who watched every moment differently. They questioned decisions. They demanded explanations. They wanted the sport to receive the same level of professionalism and accountability they expected from other major leagues. That created tension. Some believed the new attention was exactly what the WNBA needed. Others worried the constant spotlight was changing the culture of the league. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark remained at the center of the storm. Every game carried extra pressure. Every physical matchup created another discussion. Every reaction from the league became another headline. The stakes were becoming larger than anyone imagined, because the WNBA was no longer simply managing a controversy. It was managing a defining moment. A moment that could determine whether the league embraced the new era of attention or struggled under the weight of it. And then another question started appearing. If Olympic champions, fans, and outside voices were all demanding change, what would happen when the league could no longer avoid responding? Because the next move from WNBA leadership could decide whether this controversy finally disappeared, or whether it became the biggest crisis the league had ever faced. The controversy had now reached a level where silence was no longer an option. The conversation around Caitlin Clark was spreading far beyond basketball circles, and the emotional reaction from fans, athletes, and media personalities was becoming impossible to ignore. Across social media, the debate became explosive. Some fans believed Caitlin Clark was being treated differently because of the attention she brought to the WNBA. Others argued that the discussion was not about giving her special treatment, but about demanding the same standards of safety and fairness for every player. That distinction became the center of the entire argument. Supporters repeated the same message again and again. Caitlin Clark does not need protection from competition. She needs protection from anything that crosses the boundaries of competition. That message gained even more attention when Olympic athletes began sharing their opinions. Their words carried a different level of influence because they understood the pressure of elite competition. They knew what it meant to represent a sport on the biggest stages in the world. Their concern was not simply about one superstar. It was about the example being set for the future. Because the WNBA was entering a new era. More fans were watching. More people were analyzing every game. More young athletes were dreaming about reaching the same level. And with that growth came a responsibility to create an environment where talent could shine without unnecessary distractions. But the emotional fallout was creating tension everywhere. Players were being questioned. Coaches were being criticized. League leadership was being forced to answer difficult questions. Caitlin Clark's presence had changed the scale of everything. A regular season moment that might have once created a small conversation was now becoming a national debate. Every decision had consequences. Every statement mattered. Every silence created more speculation. The WNBA had spent years fighting for attention, and now it had more attention than ever before. But the challenge was learning how to handle that spotlight when every controversy became amplified around the world. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark continued carrying the pressure of being the face of this new era. She was expected to perform. She was expected to represent the growth of the league. She was expected to handle criticism with professionalism. But behind the highlights was a player dealing with constant scrutiny from every direction. And that created the biggest emotional question of all. How much pressure can one athlete carry before the conversation stops being about basketball? Because the fallout from the Alyssa Thomas incident was no longer just about what happened on the court. It had become a test of leadership, accountability, and whether the WNBA could protect the very stars who were helping transform its future. And as the debate continued growing louder, one final revelation was waiting to change how everyone viewed the situation. The biggest twist in this entire controversy was that the battle surrounding Caitlin Clark was never only about one collision, one player, or one decision. It was about a turning point. The WNBA had reached a moment where every choice made by its leadership would shape how the league was viewed for years to come. Because Caitlin Clark had changed the landscape. She brought attention that leagues spend decades trying to create. She brought new viewers, new conversations, and a level of excitement that transformed ordinary games into major events. But with that spotlight came a responsibility. The responsibility to protect the players. The responsibility to enforce standards. The responsibility to make sure the biggest stories in women's basketball were about incredible performances, not endless controversy. And that was the final twist nobody expected. The situation surrounding Caitlin Clark revealed that the real challenge was not stopping her popularity. The real challenge was whether the entire system around her could evolve quickly enough. The old way of doing things was being tested. The new era had arrived. And everyone was watching to see how the WNBA would respond. Behind the scenes, the pressure continued growing. Fans wanted consistency. Players wanted respect. Coaches wanted competitive balance. The league wanted growth without losing its identity. Those goals were now colliding. Because Caitlin Clark was not just another player anymore. She had become the symbol of a larger transformation happening inside women's sports. The attention surrounding her forced conversations that many people had avoided for years. How should officials handle dangerous plays? How should leagues protect their biggest stars while treating everyone equally? How can a sport grow without allowing controversy to become bigger than the game itself? Those questions were now impossible to ignore. And the most dramatic part was that the next chapter would not be decided by social media debates or angry comments. It would be decided by what happened next. Would the WNBA take this moment as a warning and strengthen the way it protects its athletes? Would players and leadership find a way to move forward together? Or would this controversy create a deeper divide between the old generation of the league and the new generation that Caitlin Clark represents? Because the world was watching. Olympic champions had spoken. Fans had spoken. The spotlight was brighter than ever. And now the league had to answer. Not with statements. Not with promises. But with actions. Because the future of the WNBA was standing at a crossroads. One direction could lead to a stronger, more respected league where stars and competitors are protected equally. The other could create a growing storm that continues following the league every time Caitlin Clark steps onto the court. And as the next game approached, everyone waited for the one moment that could reveal the truth. Would the WNBA finally change? Or would Caitlin Clark's rise expose problems that nobody could hide anymore? The conversation around Caitlin Clark, the WNBA, and the future of women's basketball is far from over. The questions are still standing. Should the league do more to protect every player? Did this controversy reveal deeper issues inside the sport? And can the WNBA handle the massive attention that comes with having a superstar who changed everything? Now it is your turn to decide. Do you believe the league is finally facing a necessary wake-up call, or has the situation been taken too far? Share your thoughts in the comments because this debate is bigger than one game, one player, or one moment. The future of the WNBA is being shaped right now. Stay connected, because the next chapter of this story could reveal exactly how the league chooses to respond when the spotlight is at its brightest.